Hey folks, it's Rick. Welcome back to the Enemies List podcast. I am traveling tonight. As you could probably see, I'm not in my usual abode, my usual den of iniquity and or podcasting, whichever one you choose to interpret it as. But I got to tell you, I'm not the only person in a random hotel room tonight. This is actually a very lovely hotel room tonight, but a lot of legislators from the great state of Texas are in hotels in Illinois right now. They're there because of the guy on the Enemies List this week. It's Greg Abbott. Now, Greg Abbott isn't the guy who started this cavalcade of horseshit involving a race to redistrict the state of Texas and turn it into a Republican bastion against Democratic gains. The same shenanigans going on in Florida, the same shenanigans going on in Ohio, all these states that have now decided they want a cheat code for the 2026 election because they see what's coming. They understand what's happening. They understand that Donald Trump's economic promises have fallen way short. They understand that his political promises have actually turned to dust all around them. They understand that his role in the Epstein files is shaking the confidence of Republican voters to their very core. All of this has added up to an extraordinarily tough moment for the Republicans. And my response is, of course, oh, boo-hoo, you poor babies. Their cheat code idea, and Texas is the first one out of the gate with it, is to tweak the Texas electoral map so that it blows out 5 new Republican seats and shrinks every Democratic seat into the tiniest little apartheid-style townships they can possibly make it. And if you think I'm exaggerating when I say it's the apartheid style, you would be mistaken. I am not. But Greg Abbott has decided that he's going to call this legislature into session. They came into session. The Democrats said, not for us. See ya. Outie. And they were right. People ask me all the time, like, why is the Democratic brand so bad? A big part of it, some of it's policy stuff, but the majority of it is Democrats don't trust their own leadership. They don't see them fighting. They don't see them getting up every day and saying, how am I going to punch these sumbitches in the nose? How am I going to get out there and get in a fight that matters for people? How am I going to go out there every day and show Americans I give a shit about what's happening in their lives? Guess what? You're seeing it in Texas right now. Those Democrats that left to break the caucus are facing a threat from Greg Abbott. His threat is, I will remove you from the Texas House of Representatives. First off, Greg, in the Texas Constitution, as a way to protect the minority in the Texas legislature, it is enshrined that they can break the caucus. This advisory opinion you have from the AG's office that said you could remove them, see in court, Chief, see in court. These Democratic members who are right now in the state of Illinois, they're doing the right thing. They're doing the brave thing. They're doing the strong and the correct thing. They don't have the numbers in the Texas legislature to block this redistricting. They just don't. It's Texas. What they do have is the ability to grind the process to a halt. And no matter what Greg Abbott threatens them with, no matter what Greg Abbott does to try to lick Donald Trump's ass, and Greg Abbott, by the way, is one more of these guys who desperately wants to be president someday. If the Democrats hold the line here, they're going to break the momentum of this movement. Could it happen in Florida? Yes, but Florida's already so redistricted, so astoundingly gerrymandered for the Republicans, it is incredibly difficult for a pathway to be drawn where you could push more than maybe 2 seats out of the deal. Now, those 2 seats would have to come with a lot of pain for some other Republicans. So I don't know that that's going to happen. As long as the African-American members in Florida hold the line and say, F you, I don't want a more compact district. Frankly, if the African-American members in Florida were willing to give up some African-American voting percentages in their districts, you would absolutely fuck the Republicans there on redistricting stuff. You'd absolutely fuck them. Longer story. But Greg Abbott, as of this recording tonight on Monday evening, Greg Abbott is threatening to remove these people from the Texas legislature. It's a bluff. It's a bluff. It's bullshit. It's bullying. It's garbage. The response is, go fuck yourself. Try it, bitch. They need to fight this. The reason they need to fight this is because it's a signal to Democrats everywhere else in the country that the lawlessness, the authoritarianism, the desperate desire to get a cheat where they know they can't win in a fair election, that's definitional of the Republican Party now. That's who and what they are. A lot of Democrats have said to me in the last couple of weeks, oh, we don't want to go down that same slippery slope. We don't want to. Are you insane? Because Greg Abbott's on the enemy's list now. But Democrats who think that we can just let the Republicans add another, 10 or 15 red seats across the country with no consequence because you're afraid of breaking norms and traditions because they're going to guilt you because Fox is going to say, oh, how dare they? Who gives a damn? Democrats must be prepared not only to fight this thing in Texas to the ground, to fight it till the last dog dies. They must also be prepared in California and New York and New Jersey and Washington and Oregon and Massachusetts. I could go on to play the game you're in. My friend Truby Olson always talks about this. He's like, people want to play the game they think they're in or the game they want to be in. But you got to play the game you're in. This is one of my most basic rules. Republicans come to a gunfight with a gun. Democrats come to a gunfight with a live, laugh, love throw pillow and an 800-page policy notebook. They're going to absolutely wreck you if you let them. If Greg Abbott wants to see reason, back off, stop this. We can all go back and we can have a nice big brawl next November. We can scrap it out. We can go fight it out in the streets. And look, holistically, Republicans tend to run a better integrated operation than the Democrats. If Democrats don't believe me when I say that, QED everything. Democrats are often good at one or two narrow columns in a campaign. You'll get a great communicator who's a shit fundraiser. You'll get a great fundraiser who's not a great communicator. You'll get a great candidate in a bad state, bad district. Holistically, everything that Republicans do is an integrated plan from top to bottom. Greg Abbott is a symptom of that plan. He is a satellite around the orbit of an idea that Republicans have to cheat to win. And you know what? In 2026, they kind of have to cheat to win. But the strength that is required for Democrats to get through this moment, it is going to take enormous spine and courage for those guys to stay gone from their state. It's going to be rough. He's going to threaten them, and there's nothing any legislator hates more than having their job threatened. He's going to say that they're going to be thrown out or arrested, or the Texas Rangers are going to Illinois. We'll see how that shit goes in Illinois. We'll see how that rolls. The Texas Rangers are being dispatched to get them back and all this other crap. But Texas is a skirmish in the war. Abbott is a brigade commander in this war. It is a broader fight. And in Ohio and Florida, I know they are planning this. I've talked to people in both those states. Hell, I overheard somebody bragging the other day that we can get 5 or 7 seats in Florida. You can't. But the guy that was doing it is a noted drunkard in the Republican political space. You know who you are, motherfucker. You skunk-eyed me. Oh man. Living in a very red town or a very red state is a kind of amusing exercise for me sometimes. These Democrats in Texas who are now camped out in Illinois, stay camped out, run out the clock, lawyer this thing up. This thing needs a multi-pronged response: political, media, legal, legislative. You got to fight this thing across all the domains. If Texas wins on this, breaks this quorum problem, they're going to pass 5 seats. Easy. Now it'll go to court. It'll all be, but it will probably pass. This American Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court, is going to give Trump what he wants. If you don't believe me, look at all the other redistricting cases in recent memory. Not exactly a sterling set of examples of fair play and an even playing field. You will then have to fight this fight in Florida. Then you have to fight this fight in Ohio. And more Republican states will play the game too. None of them will have the effect that a Florida or an Ohio or a Texas could have, but that is why Democrats need to be moving quickly in the states where they can offset this thing. And again, if Greg Abbott wants to put down the guns, step back from the table, everybody else can too. If Greg Abbott has the courage to defy Donald Trump and say, you know what, Chief, can't make this happen. It ain't illegal, and we're going to end up in a shittier situation than we were when we started. I don't think he has that courage. Very few of these Republican governors do. And you got Ron DeSantis in Florida, who is still to this minute planning to run for president again. That's why he did Alligator Auschwitz. That's why he does all these stupid, lame stunts to try to keep the Republican base. Oh, Ron DeSantis is a strong leader. If you don't stop it in Texas, you're going to have it in Florida, and you're going to have it in Ohio. And at that point, the clock is going to start running out in the other states. So if you're a Democratic governor or Democratic House or Senate leader or Assembly or Senate leader in any state, you should have your maps already in place. You should have had your nerds already drawing these maps. These things do not pop out overnight. It's a lot faster than it used to be, but it's still a meaningful statistical political exercise. You should have your maps. The sooner you have your maps, the sooner you can say to Greg Abbott, hey, by the way, that 5 you're going to get in Texas, fuck you, we're doing 15 more in California. Fuck you, we're doing 10 more when you add up, Massachusetts and New York. I mean, this idea that you're in a Marcus of Queensberry rules fight, Democrats, should be in the rearview mirror. Should be gone. It should be out of your brains. You are in a knife fight. You are in a gunfight with people who like to fight with guns and knives. Telling them what's going to happen, it will not always result in cooler heads prevailing, but it will start to set the stage for the Republican Party to understand that when they go down into this slippery slope, you're not only going to be following them, you're going to be waiting at the bottom of the slide to beat the shit out of them. They know they can't win in 2026 without a cheat code, without a shortcut, without this bullshit. That's your job now, to make them fear the outcomes of Texas, to make Greg Abbott and the Republicans in Texas afraid of being known as the people who not only set off the worst political backlash possible, but being known in your own party as somebody who knows how to fight. You want to run for president someday? Get in the fight. Get out there and punch bad guys. Get out there and do what has to be done. Do I love this situation? Of course not. Do I think we should do nonpartisan redistricting, like really mechanically isolated nonpartisan redistricting? I do. You know what would happen then? You know what happened? I got good news and bad news. It would break MAGA's back overnight. It would break MAGA's back because Republicans rely on redistricting in several populous states to sustain their majorities. And the redistricting in Florida is crooked as hell. Ohio, crooked as hell. Texas, crooked as hell to start with. And they're about to make it 100 times worse. But I'd love nonpartisan redistricting. It would be phenomenal. Real nonpartisan redistricting. And I don't mean like a commission named by the governor and Republicans and Democrats. No. I mean redistricting that is practically algorithmic. What would you have less of? A lot less really deep red seats. You know what you'd have less of? A lot less super progressive seats. That's the trade-off. You'd have a lot more people who look like the people they represent in the districts they live in. You'd have a lot more people who were less worried about a primary and more worried about their constituents. You have a lot more people who are less worried about whether they're ideologically correct on Fox News or on PodSave than they are about what the people in their district think and feel and believe. Nonpartisan redistricting, algorithmic redistricting, is the secret sauce to save democracy. I'm not smart enough or rich enough to do it myself. There are a lot of smart people that have thought about this and have a lot of things they've done on it. If you handed me $1 billion, that's what I'd spend it on, is nonpartisan redistricting. The model we have now in Washington, in the House in particular, is so broken because back in the states, they've siloed out. You know, hard red states and hard blue states and very few purple states anymore. And the long march of the Republicans through the legislative thicket of American politics, starting at the bottom, has been a long march, and it's paid off. What happens when Republicans took a majority in the House in various states over the years? The first thing they did was started planning redistricting for the next census cycle. Every time. First thing they do. That's the first thing they do. They plan their House and their state House and state Senate and congressional maps way ahead of time. Because in all these states that are one ideological polarity dominant, the primary is all that matters. That should not be how American democracy works. That should not be how this republic works. Now, Greg Abbott in Texas is trying to make this 1,000 times worse, not only by this absurd map, which is an obscenity by any standard, but also by the idea that when the political heat comes up, you don't go out and contest it. You cheat. You duck under. You play fuck around. Greg Abbott in Texas is a harbinger of the Republican future. Let me tell you what happens, folks, if we let Greg Abbott get away with this. Ohio and Florida will follow immediately and do the same, so they'll roll up more numbers. They will not be satisfied with a little piece of the pie. They'll want the whole thing. Again, if you don't believe me, QED everything about the Republicans for the last 3 election cycles and for the last decade. The monster is always hungry. It will never stop eating until it is stopped from eating. If you let Abbott get away with this, if you don't do this in Democratic states to counteract it, you will get a Republican majority again in 2026. And what does that mean? I'll tell you the first thing it means. That no matter who we put up as the Democratic nominee, no matter who it is, it could be sweet baby Jesus come down from heaven. No matter who the Democratic nominee is, the Republican Party will not certify them in the House of Representatives. Now, a lot of you are, oh no, that couldn't possibly happen. Are you sure about that? Are you really sure about that? Because I know of 6 different members who, when it looked like Harris was going to win, were already planning to forbid her from being certified as president if she had won. Nothing about a future of Republican majority control in the House should let you sleep at night. You want Trump again in 28? That's how you get Trump again in 28. We may at that point might as well admit that because we were unwilling to fight as dirty and as brutally and as ugly as the Republicans are willing to fight on this redistricting question, that 2026 was the last election, because it may well be. Oh, we'll still have elections, pro forma elections. North Korea has elections. Saddam had elections. Mobutu had elections. Hugo Chavez had elections. They weren't elections in a free and fair and democratic way. This is a precursor. They will be cheating in a whole variety of ways in 2026, y'all. They will be playing all the games in the world. DOJ demanding all the state voter files. If you don't think Palantir has them about 1 second after they come into Pam Bondi's office, you would be mistaken. They're going to cheat in a lot of ways. They're going to try major voter suppression. They're going to try an outrageous amount of AI-driven disinformation, and it's getting so good that's an elephant we're gonna have to eat another day. But all these things that will spin out of another Republican majority in the House, nothing you've seen so far will rival what happens when they're racing the clock in the last 2 years of the Trump administration. Nothing. It will be the end of this country as a free republic. It's as simple as that. That's why this fight in Texas is so important. That's why being ready to fight it out and to overcome whatever Texas does and to overcome whatever Ohio and Florida and all the rest do is vital. Whatever you think about the propriety and the slippery slope and the rules and the norms and institutions, if you still believe that those rules apply to both sides, I have news for you. They do not. You've got one group in this country, in the Republican Party, in the MAGA Party, that is dedicated to the acquisition and preservation of power at all costs, whether it's legal or appropriate or traditional or conservative or any other frame you want to put around it, because they don't. They hate it. They hate this country, and they want to turn it into something that you will never recognize. Turn it into something you will never understand again. The disruption and the chaos and the political maneuvering that you're seeing in Texas is a preview. It's an ugly preview, and it's a preview that you've got to keep your mind very focused on in the coming weeks. Now, look, it is a preview because Donald Trump desperately needs to change the subject, and this is not an inconsiderable factor, an inconsiderable matter in the Texas plan. They want to not talk about Epstein. They're going to still talk about Epstein, because if you keep this up with this pressure the Democrats have managed to pull off in Texas, you're going to force them to capitulate. And we're back to Epstein. Epstein is not going away. It is the STD of Republican politics. It is the nuclear waste of Republican politics. It's gross. It's sticky. It keeps coming back up. Greg Abbott is on the enemies list this week for the simple reason that he's the cat's paw in all this. He's on the enemies list this week because he's a governor who has held power in Texas for a long time and abused that power in a lot of ways. And he's abusing it now at a scale that's almost unimaginable in a normal functioning society. Greg Abbott, you're on the enemies list, and you are not coming off.